Picture this for a moment. A boat, your vessel, as the crew, is sinking, and you are desperately trying to escape. Your hands grasp at any floating pieces of wood, gripping them as if they are your only hope. Your ship, she plunges to the depths, to the locker, to Davy Jones' locker. And you, not wanting the same fate, are hoping for survival. Your clothes are torn, your hope is rapidly fading, but you suddenly see the moonlit glint of a sinking knife. It may be useful, so you throw it into your pocket. But then, a wave, possibly summoned by Calypso herself, makes you lose your grip on the wood. And so, you start sinking just like your ship. Below the water, it's dark and cold. Flashes of lightning overhead, rumbles of thunder muffled. You can't breathe. As your lungs fill with water, you may find yourself at the bottom of the ocean, blacking out. But what becomes of someone who is almost dead or dying? Their ship is gone. Their hope is gone. What more? Waking up, disoriented, you're aboard a vessel, and for a moment, you believe you're saved. The worst that could happen is you're aboard a vessel from a navy, who will obviously arrest you and you'll probably end up in the gallows, but then you realize the blurry people around you in your waterlogged state, they don't look like Navy crew. In fact, they don't even look human. You rush to your feet, and you suddenly hear the bone-chilling laugh, the loud footsteps contrasting with the ensuing silence. The man from Tales himself is approaching, and you realize you are now aboard the Flying Dutchman, and you have to make a deal with Davy Jones himself. So, if you know me, throughout my entire life, I've always loved the sea. Whether it be a starfish in a rock pool in Wales, finding one of those was amazing, visiting Blackpool in England and finding crabs, or becoming a trained and certified diver, I love the sea. So, naturally, the creatures in it are also a source of inspiration. I debated for a while as to what I wanted this design to be. I was considering all sorts of sea life, starfish, sergeant majors, but then I remembered my favorite thing in the ocean, which is the eagle ray. It sparkles really prettily when the sun hits it, and I saw one for the first time recently while diving, which was amazing. So I thought it would be a beautiful creature to transform into a design for Davy Jones' crew, since they're all inspired by sea creatures, of course. Or they fused with them. It was never clear. I also took inspiration from the song Enough by Vocal Circus to design the dress and its ragged look, because the art of hehe, I think that's how you say her name, that in that song it kind of reminds me of an old sail, or like the dress Ariel first wears when she comes up onto land. So yeah, when it came to drawing my character, I wanted to use kind of 3 different aspects. So I began with the windswept hair, so years on board would probably make it very long, and my hair grows quite fast. And I decided to use a gradient to give the effect that it's slowly merging with the corals and the ocean. I also gave her my blue eyes, and I learned actually to use a white paint pen to get the dots and the look I usually achieve digitally with the stars. It's not perfect because my paint pen's kind of busted, but it looks pretty close. I made her dress a deep blue, thinking like hehe, it's probably adapted from an old sail and some ropes to keep it attached. But those ropes also probably served a darker purpose at some point when she began regretting the 100 years of service. I also gave her wounds, which are gained from when her ship was sinking, but the blood is dry now. And they just kind of rest on her face as remnants of what has passed in her lifetime. Below the dress, she wears her old, torn pirate attire, including the same boots and trousers from her time crewing her old vessel. I think she also gained barnacles, which are attached to her arms and her face, which increase for every year aboard the Dutchman. It's a sort of curse after all. She also wears a cape, which attaches itself to each wrist, and this eventually transformed into an eagle ray pattern from the years underwater. She gained gills instead of ears and webbed fingers, resembling marine life, and her primary weapon is a whip, as shown, similar to an eagle ray's tail. So, what's the story behind her? What's her lore? Well, as the opening showed, she was very close to drowning. Her lungs were filling with water, she had no hope. But, seeing as she was dying, Davy Jones saw her out. She was aboard the Dutchman when she woke up. And, well, we don't know if she wished or didn't wish to be part of the crew. She regretted it, but I think when you're nearly dead, you'll do anything to stay alive. So she endured many years at the mast, and she slowly became a fusion of a fish, an eagle ray, and barnacles, which is seen in her design. Eventually, she is granted a whip as her weapon of choice, but she still keeps the knife very close to her, which she found, because it's a small reminder of who she used to be before she became a part of the Dutchman's crew. She becomes a proficient assassin, as she already has training as a pirate, and she goes aboard the other ships during combat and either strangles or throws her victims overboard to be recruited. So, essentially, she's death. Like, if you encounter her, you're either dying or you will end up dead. Due to her fleeting nature and the association of her with water, the world comes to know her as Loire, and the sailors begin to believe that sighting an eagle ray aboard a pirate ship is actually a bad omen for the Flying Dutchman's appearance, which is a shame because they're really pretty. But anyway, as her memory dwindles due to years aboard the ship, she eventually accepts herself as Loire, because as we see in the films, they will eventually lose their memories until they forget who they were. So she basically just takes on a new identity. She still keeps the knife close, even as Loire, because it reminds her of someone long ago, who she can't quite remember, but she feels that she was close to them and wants to preserve them. Well, eventually, after becoming one of the oldest crew members, her debt is paid, and she's preparing to die, seeing as she served at the mast for 100 years. However, as luck would have it, things don't quite go to plan, since the crew see an incoming vessel to plunder and become distracted. So, they fail to completely cut her throat before throwing her overboard. Because of this, she just blacks out and washes ashore. She's eventually found by a neighboring crew, and seeing as she has no memory of her life before as a pirate, she keeps herself as Loire, and is identifiable by her knife. She becomes part of this neighboring crew, proving herself as a proficient fighter and sailor. Since then, she's tried to avoid being recognized by the Dutchman crew, since her transformation is retreating slowly, and she deeply hopes to sail for many more years aboard her new vessel with her new friends. Anyway, I hope you liked the design. I'm sorry this one was a bit shorter, but I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!